A man reproduces himself through his child, so when he leave here, he gets your smile. But I see fit to stay here a while. Maybe by the time shit somewhere, rock bumware, beach chair, write a book each year. You can write yourself out of your blessings. Record label the first stages by driving too reckless. Time is too precious, need some obvious lessons. Please remind me to watch my step while I balance on edge of skill. The slopes of life, slide down the Ave at night, watching the graphic graffiti on walls, that's in sight. Cars from Germany, I be pushing the fastest type. Look at the real estate, brother, I need to ask your price. Imagine another rapper making me perspire. I got more styles and more flows, plus I must fly. I got more heights to reach, but I'm already higher. I'm already on to the next thing. Peace and bless, King. Peace and bless, King. Big nine, old money, new money, rap money, tech money, flex money. What's next? You funny. Me, myself, I'm the illest alive. I can do a whole album on how it feels to survive.
That's a great place to start. That new Nas record off his Masterclass, original song from his Masterclass that he has coming out. I gotta look into the details to figure out more on that, but I do like the new record. It's called Big Nas. That's a great place for me to start. Because if you haven't been listening or following lately, these Nas records are speaking some real talk, real topics and real situations that us as adults need to pay attention to closely. A lot of life lessons on that King's Disease album, and this track is no different. But I'm guessing this episode is gonna be an Insecure review, I guess, somewhat. I did want to play this little quick snippet.
The right path. I don't know that I'm on the right path. To be honest, there's no way to be sure you've made the right choice. Maybe I'll wake up tomorrow and realize that I've wasted all my time. And that's time I can't really get back.
Wow. I'm glad.
And yeah, that kind of, I'm sure that the entire premiere of Insecure was in itself an experience. It was said that, it was taking a look at them going back to their 10-year and alumni reunion. And the goal of the episode was for them to be back in a place where they see how they got connected in the first place. So we unravel all of the relationships between Issa and Molly, and you get the take between Tiffany and I'm so bad with names. So bad with names. But yeah, it was interesting premiere. Watching it, it kind of made me realize, like, yo, this is really the beginning of the last season of Insecure. But it was good to see them start. Like, they didn't really pick up from where last season ended. Kind of got like a couple years later, or what was it, a couple months later, and then they're going to their 10-year reunion, which was good to see the past situations and how it affected them in the future. But that quote and that scene right there where Issa is part of a panel and she's discussing her new company, The Block, and they're asking questions about what it took to be in this entrepreneurial space. And that quote, or that statement that she said about not knowing that she's on the right path, kind of hit me, because it's like, us as creators, I'm sure we go through this all the time, where we are doubting or considering the possibilities of the road that we've taken. So I did want to branch off from this take and kind of talk about the right path and being in this space of trying to build on your own. The moderator did joke, I'm glad to have a 9 to 5, but if we look back at this whole pandemic and the whole change in the work from home life to really everyone like really sitting and realizing that the 9 to 5 life isn't that great, and also not a place that everyone feels the need to be in anymore. So it kind of like reshapes the thinking around what does work look like going forward. If you're working from home, does it take 40 hours a week to work in a job? I mean, if we can get all of the tasks done in a more productive way, does that now shift what a 9 to 5 looks like? So as for ELSV, elusive, as you will, it's interesting because this past few weeks I've been sitting with, did I really make the right decision on trying to move forward and continuing to build a brand that I started in 2014. And it's like what started as a project to build my portfolio and grew into its own publication, which then took on a life of its own, and then I kind of put it on hold. And then like the team that was working on Elusive Magazine with me, we all branched out and went in different directions. So at the start of 2020, I had a list of things that I wanted to do in relaunching the magazine and building the brand from what it was, and then panorama, because can't mention that or it's gonna be flagged as, oh, if you're gonna do your research, yeah, whatever. But the panorama happened. My event to relaunch the magazine was gonna happen in March. And then it's been on hold, and then I moved. So now it's like I moved to a new state, and now it's rebuilding on all of those things that I wanted to do and trying to figure out how to do that in this new environment. And that wondering if I'm on the right path hits me every day, because every day is a learning experience. I don't think there's a real manual to what to do and how to do this. So every day it's questioning whether or not this is the right choice or right move to make. But I feel like you got to go with it and continue the process. So right now, I did post, let's say, a week and a half ago, I did post a couple of job opportunities for my brand to try to rebuild what I had started already. And kind of like, I've always wanted to do this, but I didn't feel like the time was right to set it up. And then it kind of came to me like, yo, if you don't do this, you're never gonna do this, and you're never gonna get what you're trying to get to unless you just go ahead and do it. And I have to constantly struggle with that sentiment that if I don't go ahead and do it and find out how it's gonna work or not work, I'm just gonna be sitting here wondering what to do and how to do it, and if this is the right choice or not the right choice. So I went ahead, posted the listing. I got several responses back, which I'm going through. And now I'm sitting with, what is the next steps now that I've gotten these responses? And like when I think back, another good point of this episode was them going back to college and living there, being back in the space that they haven't been in a while, kind of made them make decisions for their present. So for me, going back to some of the earlier work of Elsv and seeing some of the postings and stuff that came out of several projects that we worked on kind of put me back in that space where, all right, this is what I did to get that done. Now I have to apply that to what I'm doing now to get this done. And it, of course, it's a learning experience, but that's where this quote, this scene brought me and reminded me like, all right, I really don't have my shit figured out, but it is a learning experience. And then sometimes you do feel like maybe this ain't the right path, but if you don't continue on it, you'll never see it through and get to a place where maybe you did the right things to get here. So like in reflecting, there are times where I sit with all of the things that I envisioned for Elsv is coming, maybe not in a, what was the quote that I seen? You gotta applaud your small achievements as well as the big ones. So even though it may not feel like what I envision is moving as fast as it is or should be, the small little things that are happening along the way, I have to keep in mind and pay attention to, that even though it's not going or moving as fast as I want it to, things are still moving in a way that is progressive. And it's all a learning experience. So in launching all of these things for Elsv and then hoping to do all of these things, it's all a learning experience. And yeah, sometimes you have to go through it and get a couple no's or get the yes. So you have to go through all that to get what you need. And even though you may doubt it, you may be on your path and you may be on the right journey, and you got to see it through, because again, what was the point of it all? Like, what was the goal? What was the reason of starting all of this? And when I think about that, like the reason I started Elsv was, again, wanting to produce content for a brand that said I didn't fit into their luxury style of whatever you want to call it. But you know, I just felt like that no kind of got me into saying, well, if that's not the space for me, because maybe I'm a person of color, because I'm a black male, because of a number of things, if that was the reason I couldn't get access to that, then I would have to go and build my own platform to get the access that I deserve. So again, when I think about why I started it, it's fuel to keep me going. Because when you think about another good point about Insecure, if people aren't watching, that there aren't a lot of shows that showcase black people in this manner. And then when we do get something along those lines, it doesn't last very long. And this is not to like this type of drama or comedy series, but I did notice the trend of futuristic sci-fi series, which I love futuristic sci-fi series, but I start to notice the trends of all of these being released at once, and then there not being that much people of color in these type of shows. Off topic, as a writer, not just a writer, to produce magazine and culture content, culture news, I've been trying to finish my poetry book, my sci-fi novel that it's supposed to be a series that I've been working on for a while. But I feel like it's important for us to tell stories where people of color are involved in it. So it's like you see all of these shows and there's one or two people of color in the cast, but they don't have a main role, and then you don't see them as much in the series. So it's like, when do we get these type of shows that also highlight what it would be like for people of color? Totally another topic, but I lost my train of thought. So yeah, and thinking about why I created Elusive and why I got started doing this, it was clear like I have to create my own lane to create in the capacity that is what's the word? Yeah, so creating this project, creating Elusive, it was always to maintain a space for Black creatives, people of color, to create where their work has value. And yes, maintaining ownership over our creations and being Black, unapologetic. Ugh. I just felt like it was important to create a space for Black creatives and people of color to create where their work is valued and appreciated. So for Elusive, it's always about being unapologetically Black. And on my site, if you can see it, it's on paper, in articles, in front of and behind the lens. So I just feel like, yeah, you enter into a lot of these spaces and you don't get the value and you don't get the praise for your creative capabilities because of whatever reason. So I just seen a post today where a model was walking in a Fashion Week show, and they didn't have any Black hair and makeup artists. And then she had to go ahead and do hair and makeup for herself because they didn't make her feel comfortable and they weren't doing the makeup to represent how makeup should be styled for a Black model. So she ended up doing it herself. And one of the comments on it was that how we don't get paid for our work and for our worth, but I'm paraphrasing, but when you think of how the makeup artists that were on the shoot and the hairstylists that was on the shoot, they're getting paid to do a job, but they can't fully do the job. And then you as the artist or as the model or whatever, in this case, the model, you have to go above and beyond and do 2 and 3 people's job when you're not even getting paid to do that, but they're getting paid to do it. And I thought it was interesting because, again, a lot of these spaces love to put the Black square up in support of Black lives. But we don't really see that when it comes to Black talent being hired, Black experiences being displayed, and so on and so on. So again, for me, Elusive is very important to showcase all of that and continuing to be this platform when other platforms don't see the worth of your work. So I'm gonna end my train of thought there because this is a topic that I can go on and on and on about. and I've probably already gone on and on about this in past episodes of this podcast, but it is important to reiterate it because people may not be listening, or they hear you but they don't try to get it. So again, this is what the experience looks like for Black creatives, and until there is some kind of change, like, we have to continue to build our own spaces and create for ourselves, to showcase ourselves in the best light. I'm sorry, I went on and on and on and on. Can we get the music back?
Peace and bless, King. Big nines, old money, new money, rap money, tech money, flex money. What's next? You funny. Me, myself, I'm the illest alive. I can do a whole album on how I feel to survive. My daughter's a businesswoman. I'm so proud of her. My son, he's almost 12 and he's so knowledgeable. New music, new content, new programming. I ran again it. Got my hands in everything like kids with bad manners. Say the high school banter. At night school, you study my life looking for answers. I hear my calling, heart pounding in my chest. Wish I could bring back X. God bless. I don't practice, I don't remember my lines. I'm just scared so I don't get fined. I'm athletic with poetics. These are alpha male alphabetics. Never touch a Rolling Stone cover, but I don't sweat it. Imagine another rapper making me perspire. I got more styles and more flows once I must fly. I got more heights to reach, but I'm already higher. I'm already on to the next thing. Peace and bless, King.
Thank y'all for checking out this episode of Elsv. This is some of my merch. You can get this on the website, elsv.net. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can see it. But if not, elsv.net/shop, I believe. If I'm wrong, I will leave a link in the description of this episode. What else before we get out of here? Bear with me on Patreon. I am trying to figure that out. So the Patreon stuff will be up, which will be these videos, because I feel like I don't know how I feel about the YouTube situation. But yeah, we'll upload this to Patreon probably starting in November, so it can be a fresh month. But yeah, check out the website, elsv.net. Check out the merch, elsv.net/shop. Got some interesting things in the work, and I'm ready to get started. And this episode of Insecure kind of hit it on the nail for me, and I was like, yep, I gotta get all of those things done that I've been holding off on doing, and I'm gonna move forward with that. Yeah, maybe I'm doubting being on this journey, but I gotta push through and get it done. So that was a good start to the season. I'm excited to see where the rest of the season goes. I'm so sad that it's the last season, because again, we get a lot of these great Black shows and they don't last that long. And I'm like, I guess Issa has a point. She wanted to tell a specific story in a specific time frame, but there are a lot of shows that could have gone the distance and didn't, and then we don't get the right ending. And then it's just like some of these shows that are on that last 15 seasons that we could have done without it lasting so long, or still lasting so long. So again, when it comes to Black content, we have to get to a space where we have our own, to continuing to produce our own without it being canceled on a cliffhanger and left with unresolved storylines, i.e. Girlfriends, Half and Half, Moesha, One-on-One, all of our Black sitcoms. Have we had a Black sitcom end and wrap itself up with no storylines left hanging? That's maybe something that we should get back to. I mean, I should check on that. But yeah, thank you for listening. Thank you for joining us. If I didn't say it in the beginning, this is episode 11. Too late to say that now. If you already listened to the whole thing, you already know it's episode 11. But I'm your host, Nathan Dante, and thank you for checking me out and checking the pod out. Check out all of my merch on elsv.net and stay tuned for the upcoming project. I'm trying to get issue 7 together. I know it's been so long since issue 6, but that's just how the journey goes. So until next time, remain elusive.